Okay. The Gate of Horn and the Gate of Ivory. By the gates of Sassafras, when the emerald waters spilled into the hyacinth choke cove, we hid the boats of ormolu and amber, their scalloped ivory oars resting in their locks. And like Hylas, who was turned into an echo by the nymphs to hide him when they had ravished him, we were lost to ourselves, shedding and donning the attributes of strangers and companions without even a moment's audition, secure that none of it mattered as much as the simple fact that it was moving, and in moving gave every promise that it was part of a greater dance, and and that it rippled out to shores where we might never go, but influence, and were in turn influenced by them in this fragrant, echoing cove, in this sparkling company, riveted by the same unspoken questions, and in the grasp and thrall of the same appetites. Hylas, Hylas, who went to fetch water and was never seen again. Icichus, who threw himself into the sea for the love of Hesperia, who died running from him, bitten by a poisonous snake. Icichus, who continued to dive into the sea even after he was transformed into a bird by Theseus to save him, becoming then a diving bird, carrying a perfect even covering of air below with him. So he appeared brilliant quicksilver under the waves. Thus were we. The face of a cliff descended in the far reaches of the cove, and in a tall entrance, the water beginning to fall over round rocks in a narrow stream to an underworld lake with a ceiling that sparkled amethyst, labradorite, and gold. Then another opening with tympanum and archvolts, seeming to writhe with figures, now animal, now man, now plant, bird, gem, tuber, root, tooth, and eye. Here the waters were calm, transparent, fading into depths with alcoves, waving moss in the center. The goddess, as round as a large oak and tall as a house, green, jewel beetle green, malachite green, bright algae and velvet green, a robe soft and permanent, round shoulders, a gathering look. My little boat made its way past this sight, pointing to it like a compass, and drifting to a stone stairway cut into the sides of this chamber, leading to a small round opening. Outside, the stars were shining now. Timon slid in some way that I could not follow. The goddess figure was so silent. I expected her to impart more, but her blessing was unsegmented into words, an envelopment, a mantle for the journey ahead. A mother's farewell, really. I went up the stairs and found myself on a ledge, halted just when I felt that this was the beginning of a journey. I took in a vast black valley, no steeper than that, a chasm, the far side only a stone's throw, the river below no more than a scratch on the bottom of a pewter bowl. My breath stopped. Across from me, addressing me only with uh, mm, pardon me, addressing me only with his gaze, a naked, bird-black and starved by fasting figure sat, robe open to the weather, and unraveling, falling into tatters from time, wind, and rain. How long had he been sitting there? I could see every rib and vein standing out as they crossed his ribs. The figure content, holding some moment, waiting for a promise, a condition to be fulfilled before the sun could rise in this cold place. Almost out of sight in the distance, to the right, and what I took to be the east, I could just make out the entrance, the tall opening in the cliff face. The monk continued to gaze ahead. An eagle rode a steady updraft between us at shoulder height, and then pivoted to look away to where the entrance in the cliff face was. I could think of no way to get there. This is where sleep took me. Not even sure that this was my next destined place to go. Aftermath. Between the park and the town, a river of ice had broken down the bridge and carried it away, leaving two jagged abutments, and then broken free of the dike, ripping the earth open, cutting through to the steep downhill direction it had been yearning for every day since the men came and fended it to the north. In the terrific roar that it made, I could only see the lips of your family moving. They stood on the other side, a few yards from where the road had broken off. I could not hear what they were saying. They stood in a tight group. I could not read their faces either. On my side, the ground had thawed on top, slippery mud on still hard ground, not good for running. Desperate to find you and confused and angry that your grandparents and aunt and uncle on the far bank, the other side of the cataclysmic fissure that deepened steadily as I watched, continued to stand there, facing this, not moving to act, although admittedly there was nothing that they or anyone could do now. Still, the very acceptance grated on my frantic nerves. I turned and started to run back to see if you were by the road, knowing you aren't, but unable to stand and look at the terrible water full of branches and rocks and fresh soil ripped from the banks, and unable to accept that this is where my search has led to this dead end, with these numb, unresponsive people, grave, seeming to know or expect something terrible like this to happen. The Honorai, the sons of Hypnos, god of sleep, passed through one of two gates. The first of these, made of horn, was the source of prophetic God-sent dreams, while the other, constructed of ivory, was the sources of dreams which were false and without meaning. The term for nightmare was menace onerous, black dream. The onerous passed through one of two gates. The first of these, made of horn, was the source of prophetic God-sent dreams, while the other, constructed of ivory, was the source of dreams which were false and without meaning. The term for nightmare was melis onerous, black dream. Hesiod's Theogony, translated by Evelyn White. And Nyx night bare hateful Moros doom, and black cur violent death, and Thanatos death, and she bare Hypnos sleep, and the tribe of Onerai dreams, and again the goddess murky Nyx, though she lay with none, bare Momos blame, and painful Oasis, misery, and the Hesperides. Also she bare the Morai fates, and the ruthless avenging Caris, death fates, also deadly nemesis, envy, to afflict mortal men, and after her, Aquitae, deceit, and Philotes, friendship, and hateful Garrus, old age, and hard-hearted Eris, strife.